Welcome to the Hobby Report, episode 1, a brand new series where I share the highs and lows of my hobby journey and answer some of your biggest questions. Hey, I'm Ollie and you're watching Blackheart Minis. So today I wanted to kick off a brand new series where I check in once a month or so just to update everyone on how I'm getting on in the hobby. And then we'll look ahead at the things that I'm excited about, projects I've got up my sleeve, and everything else the hobby decides to throw at me next. I also want the Hobby Report to be a place where I answer some of your questions. And for this first episode, I thought, why not answer two of the biggest questions I get asked all the time. Can you show us your hobby room? And can you show us all of the minis you've painted? So today we're doing both. We'll take a quick tour of my humble little corner of the hobbyverse, and I'll show you every mini I've painted since starting this journey. But before we dive into all that, let's start with the Hobby Report itself. What I've been up to over the last month or so, what I've painted, what I've learned, and what I'm excited to work on next. So honestly, February has been a bit of a month. I started my YouTube channel on the 2nd of February, which has been a learning experience for sure. I didn't expect my first video to do as well as it did, honestly. I figured it would just sit there as a bit of an intro to who I am, not get many views, but would be helpful potentially for new people finding the channel. It seems to have done really well. I mean, I don't have millions of views on it or anything, but the engagement I've had has been fantastic. If you've commented, liked, or subscribed, thank you so much. Honestly, it really means a lot. And YouTube's not easy. I started as a short form creator, if you like to call me a creator, just making reels and posting my finished projects on Instagram and having fun with photography and videography along the way, learning new skills and taking on a new hobby itself, because content creation, and particularly YouTube and video editing for YouTube, not as simple as I first thought. So the learning process, learning new things around video, audio editing, how to set my lights up and all this sort of thing, that's been taking a fair chunk of hobby time recently. So February, I haven't painted as much as I would like. I am working on a fair few projects, and I did finish one project this month, so that's a bonus. But I've also been to a ton of events this month. First of all, I went to Beachhead Tabletop Expo at the start of the month. My first ever time attending. It's down in Bournemouth, and I covered it on the channel, so make sure you check that video out if you haven't already. I got to interview Duncan Rhodes there, had a good old chat with Duncan, got some great advice from him for anyone who's considering painting competitions, so make sure you check that video out if you haven't already. And I also won my first ever finalist pin there, so yeah, what an event. Great way to kick off the year. Got a finalist pin for my painting. Yeah, really excited to carry on, and I've been all over the place this month. So I've been back and forth to the south coast of the country 3 times this month. I went down to Bournemouth for Beachhead Tabletop Expo, and I've been down to Southampton twice this month. First for the soft opening of Hobby House, where my very good friend Toby, aka Torhammer, is now working as the general manager, so I had to be there for that. And I've covered my first look on the channel if you haven't seen it already, so again, make sure you go and check that out. And I went back to Hobby House again last weekend for the official opening. Honestly, I wish them nothing but success. What they've built down in Southampton is nothing short of one of the best hobby stores I've ever stepped into. Just absolutely fantastic. Their ethos, their vision for what they want to do for the community and growing the business. It sounds absolutely incredible. I would love to see more hobby houses popping up all over the country. Just the aesthetic, the way they've got it set up, the way that they've built it for hobbyists and gamers, I absolutely love it. I'd love to see one local to me. That's not 200-mile round trip. This year, I've been lucky enough to attend a couple of painting classes with Stu from Tesseract Minis. Honestly, he's an incredible painter, and just the few sessions I've done with him, I've picked up and learned so much. I've used some of the skills that I picked up in his skin tones class to work on my Realms of Tiberian bust, which is very much a work in progress. I've got some base coats down and started working on the skin tones on the base, but yeah, there's a lot left to do there, and my first ever bust, so kind of want to take my time with it and do my best work if possible. So that's probably going to be one I pick up every now and then. Another miniature I'm working on at the moment is an Army from One Phobos Marine. This is a miniature that Dan from Grime Time Painting on Instagram has sent out to a bunch of people all over the community, and everyone's challenge is to paint it up in a scheme, send it back to Dan, so he's got an Army from One miniature. It's a really cool mini, and I've painted most of it so far in a very grim dark style, using the dark arts paints from Too Thin Coats, and I'm painting them up as my custom chapter, the Black Hearts, which are a custom chapter of Blood Angels. I have got some lore written up about it somewhere. Perhaps we'll do an episode on that in the future. But yeah, I've got him painted up so far. I need to do his base, and sadly I've dropped him a couple of times, so he is shattered into various pieces. He's all back together. You couldn't really tell too much, I guess. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm sure Dan will be able to tell, and I hope it survives shipping it back to the States, because yeah, he's taken a couple of dings so far, so the grimdark style's definitely gonna have to do some work for me there to hide some of the blemishes, but hey ho, certainly not my best work, but I'm really happy with it so far. The Space Marine's face that I painted for it is probably one of the best faces I've painted, because I haven't painted many. They're particularly challenging to paint. They're very small little things with tons of detail, so yeah, a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I'm very happy with how he's come out so far. I've also built a fair few minis this month, actually, just in preparation to give me some inspiration to get painting. So I've started building my first transport for my Ultramarine army. I'm building an Impulsor. It's practically built now. Here it is. Yeah, it's almost done. I've got to do the final few bits and magnetize some of the weapon options, because I asked the community, and yeah, I was told magnetization is probably the best way to go. Annoyingly, one of the bigger guns only has one casing, so I have to do some research and figure out the best way to magnetize those options. I also built Link from Greyhawk Miniatures, which I picked up from Beachhead Tabletop Expo. I'd really love to paint him up and enter him into a competition someday. It's such a cool mini, I really need to do it justice. So yeah, I wanted to get that built just to see what it looked like, really. In terms of minis that I've actually finished this month, well, the only mini I actually finished was my Orange Brushes and Beowulf Miniatures painting challenge. So Orange Brushes and Beowulf Miniatures teamed up together to set a challenge to the community to paint a Range McBrush mini, which is Orange Brushes mascot, in any style, and submit it by midnight on the 28th of February. And honestly, I left it so late to start. And when I did start, I just didn't have a huge amount of free time to dedicate to it. I haven't been well, my partner's not been well, I've been super busy, back and forth all month, and plus I work full time, and work's been busy as well. So it's been a challenging month, but I managed to finish my Orange Brushes painting comp piece with 3 minutes to spare. I got it posted, I think, yeah, 3 or 4 minutes before midnight. So that was a push. That was a push, that one. I'm not hugely, I didn't win. I wasn't expecting to in the slightest. I was stuck in the ugly stage for some time on that Mini. I really couldn't see the sprue through the Minis, or the wood through the trees, however you want to say it. But I was knee deep in the ugly stage for some time. I've repainted so many things on that Mini, just over and over, because I just wasn't happy with it. And eventually I got it to a place where I thought, right, I can call this done. But yeah, it took a long while to get there. So yeah, I haven't painted a huge amount this month, but I have done a ton of stuff this month. So I've been to Bournemouth for Beachhead Tabletop Expo. I've been to Southampton twice to visit Hobby House and my friends over there. I also went to London for work, and it was central London, so I really struggle with busy environments and crowds and public transport. So that was a challenging day, and that really, honestly, really burnt me out. Just the overwhelm of it all. But I did manage to visit Element Games in London and got to hang out with the manager there, Sean. Yeah, awesome little venue. You won't catch me in central London a huge amount, but when you do, I'd certainly make another visit to Element Games over there. Great little store, cool little community, and I also got to see my good friend Rich does wargaming while I was there. Just a brief catch up, but lovely to see him nonetheless. So as for life outside the hobby, I've had a big life update this month. My fiance and I have booked our wedding. So yeah, in 2028, we'll have tied the knot. A couple of years for us to save and get ready for it, but whew, exciting and nerve-wracking times ahead. But yeah, it's about time. For the shortest month of the year, February really has packed a lot in. I haven't finished as many minis as I would like, but you know, that is the reality of hobby life, and it's been an incredible month all the same. And with all that behind me, let's look ahead to talk about what I'm excited for the month ahead. So top of the list for things that I'm excited about for this month is Chillcon. Chillcon is an event up in Sheffield on the 21st and 22nd of March, and honestly, I'm so hyped. Last year was the first time I ever attended Chillcon, and it was one of my favorite hobby events. It's such a chilled out, relaxed environment. It was a really great introduction for me into the hobby. And this time around, they've invited me back as a creator, and to make things even crazier, they've even asked me to do a panel, and I'm on that panel with some very good hobby friends. And one of the biggest names in the UK wargaming scene, Midwinter Minis. Honestly, just what? I couldn't believe it when they told us Guy was going to be joining our panel. It was crazy enough to be doing a panel with some friends to begin with, but to get Guy from Midwinter Minis involved, just absolutely crazy. So yeah, if you're coming to Chillcon, make sure you come along to our panel. You don't want to miss it. I'm excited and have absolutely no idea how that's going to go. So it'd be good fun to see everyone in the crowd, answer some questions live in person. So yeah, if you're coming along to Chillcon, come and say hello. I will be bringing stickers for sticker swaps or whatnot. And yeah, just all around good times at events. I can't wait. There's a painting competition on both days of the event. So no matter what day you go, or if you're going for the full weekend, you could enter the painting competition. Yeah, there's tons of stuff to see and do there. Participation games, loads of different traders from all sorts of walks of life, from parts of the hobby. It'll be a great time. Can't wait to see you there. And yeah, in terms of projects that I'm looking forward to, so a couple of things that I've got coming up. Obviously, I'm building my first transport, my Impulsor for my Ultramarine army. So yeah, I need to get that primed and painted, but I've also got a half-built Redemptor Dreadnought that I need to finish painting. It's half built and half painted. So I do have to get those finished at some point. But the next real project that I've got to work on is actually Ragnar Blackbane, believe it or not. So it's not for my army or anything. So it's an entirely different side project, but there'll be a future video about that. So stay tuned. Yeah, and finally, getting back to my roots with some ultramarines. I've got, as I said, my transport and my Redemptor Dreadnought to paint, but I've also got the new Captain Titus and the Warden's box, and I'm very excited to paint those. I've pretty much got all of the new ultramarine stuff, so you'll see some of it in the hobby room tour in a minute, which is more going to be me just outing how tightly packed we are in here with tons of unopened boxes. All right, folks, that's your first hobby report. It really has been a busy start to the year, and with a new edition of 40K in the summer, tons of events to look forward to, it's going to be a big one, and I can't wait for it. So let's get into the headlines. First up, a quick tour of the hobby room. This room is about 6 foot by 6 foot, or roughly 2 meters squared. It's not huge, but it doubles as my work office and my hobby area. I've packed so much in here, at this point it's basically my stay-at-home hobby store and my personal manga cafe. I have everything an aspiring hobbyist needs, and probably everything they don't. Seriously, I'm the walking definition of all the gear and no idea at this point. And yes, I do have a mild obsession with Gunpla if you hadn't noticed already. There is plastic potential everywhere in here. It practically hits the ceiling. I've even got an airbrush and compressor tucked away under my desk. Paint-wise, I mean, as you can see, I have so many paints. 2 thin coats, Army Painter, Citadel, AK, Pro Acryl, you name it. And honestly, a fair amount of what's in this room has been kindly gifted to me by brands, so don't worry, the hobby hasn't bankrupted me yet. If you're curious about the paint walls, the 2 thin coats racks are from Sarissa Precision, and the big paint wall is made from IKEA Skadis pegboards with 3D printed paint holders. And so that's the room. It's small and cozy, organized chaos, and I've basically built an adult-shaped fort to play in, and it's where I do all my hobby, painting, and editing. It might not be the biggest space, but it is my happy place. So, now that you've seen where the magic happens, let's take a look at what's actually come out of this space. On this table are the majority of minis I've painted, and the quality varies from mini to mini. Looking at my first miniature, it's crazy to see the progress I've made in less than a year and a half. The first 5 minis I painted were very basic. I was following very beginner style guides, and basically I was just learning how to get a consistent coat of paint on my minis. Some of them would take far too many coats because I was over thinning my paints early on. After my first 5 Infernus Marines, I moved on to some Space Marine Scouts, and that was a particular challenge. There was a lot to learn. I'm pretty happy with some of these. They look okay for the size they were at and for the level of my ability at the time. They look fine. I did start trying to drill barrels with my Scouts, and unfortunately I ruined quite a number of the bolters. So one of the guys has got a bit of a sawn off bolt gun, but we move on. From there, I picked up the Kill Team starter set box, and this included some amazing miniatures for both Space Marines and Plague Marines. And this is where I started to try to dial in my skills a bit more. And I started trying to dedicate more time to learning edge highlighting, pushing myself towards more box art style of painting. And you can see across the Kill Team, some I've put a lot more effort in than others, but overall, I can definitely see my painting ability starting to improve with these minis. After I finished the Kill Team, I had a bit of a palette cleanse with a speed painted Tyrannid and some Plague Marines, which I painted entirely with contrast paints. This dwarf I painted for the Traveling Man Blood Bowl painting challenge, where they sent 4 random paints and a random mini to everyone who entered. and you had to paint it with just those paints in the black and white, and it was a big challenge for me at the time. And then I believe around there was when I attended Chillcon, and at Chillcon I painted a Space Marine in 20 minutes, and this thing is an absolute travesty. However, my fastest painted Marine. Next up, I painted Cloud from the Lion's Tower, and when I saw this mini, I absolutely fell in love with it. I am a huge Final Fantasy fan, and Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorite games, so I absolutely loved painting Cloud up. It's a bit of a speed paint plus paint job there. Moving on, we've got my Celestial Affinity Demons. Now, Celestial Affinity is a war game my friend Ben created, and absolutely love the miniatures. Very dark medieval fantasy, 54mm scale miniatures. Absolutely wonderful sculpts, and I painted these guys in a very traditional sort of demon scheme, and I think I was inspired by Stranger Things at the time, because they look a little demigorgon to me. Don't know about you. Next up, probably one of my best painted miniatures, my Blackheart Blade Guard. Now, I painted this guy in my own custom scheme, the Black Hearts. Really happy with the Blade Guard. I put a lot of time and effort into that miniature. After that, I painted my first team of Crystal Collapse minis. Crystal Collapse is a JRPG inspired wargame from the Lion's Tower. The game comes out later this year, and I got to paint some of the minis early on, which are going to be pictured in the rulebook, if you can believe it or not. And I cannot wait to get the rest of the game so I can start playing on the tabletop. Next up is a mini I painted at a paint session with some friends. This is just a quick Space Wolf I painted, nothing special there. What have we got next? So, my first ever old world miniature, this familiar toad. I absolutely loved this when I saw it, and it reminded me of Naruto, so I painted him in a very Gamakichi style. If you've seen Naruto, hopefully he's reminding you of that. Next up, we have my finalist Space Marine Terminators. So I painted these, I painted the first Sergeant as a solo miniature. I tried to paint him as best as I could, using transfers and all sorts of all the techniques I've learned so far. I quickly realized the paints I was using were not the correct tone, so I went out and bought all of the Army Painter equivalents for the Citadel Heavy Metal recipe, and on the final 4 Terminators, I batch painted them using the traditional Heavy Metal scheme. On the batch paint, I got a bit lazy, and rather than doing traditional edge highlights, I went for a bit of a more weathered battle damage look for them all, to get it done a bit quicker, so I could be less precise and a bit more free with the battered edge highlights. After that, I painted 5 Tyranids just quickly with speed paints and Turbo Dork metallics. Really happy with those. I did a little short form tutorial on one of the Goku looking Nids. When I started painting them, I swear all I was seeing was Dragon Ball Z. It could have been that I was watching a lot of Dragon Ball Z Super at the time, but yeah, really enjoyed painting those, and Turbo Dork metallics are absolute witchcraft if you've ever had the chance to use them. Highly recommend. Really fun paints. After the Tyranids, I painted some Trench Crusade minis. A few of these are just in very much a work in progress. I haven't completely finished them, but I'm really happy with the Hell Knight. I painted him entirely with the Dark Arts paints from Two Fin Coats, and really pleased with how he turned out. He's mostly metallics, blood effects, and verdigris, with a few traditional acrylics here and there. Next up, you've got my Army from One miniature. I'm painting him in a bit more of a grimdark version of my custom chapter Blackheart scheme. Next, we've got my first ever bust. This is from Realms of Tiberian, and her name is Catherine Carlisle. So I've been following some tutorials from Tesseract Minis on this one, and yeah, really pleased with how it's turning out so far, but I've got a lot of work to do on this. Finally, my most recent miniature that I finished painting is my Dwarf from Orange brushes. It's certainly not my best work or award-winning by any means, but I had real fun painting them up. So yeah, and I think that's all the minis that I have on hand to be able to show you right now. There are a few others knocking about, but that's all of them. So I hope you enjoyed them, and yeah, I'll try to share more in the future. And that brings us to the end of our very first hobby report. It really has been a busy start to the year, and I have lots more on over the next few months. So I will try to check in as often as possible and create as many videos as I can. But as I said in my first video, I honestly don't know if I can consistently get videos out every single week. I will do my very best, but it has been a steep learning curve getting used to content creation in a long form setting and posting to YouTube regularly. I honestly don't know how some people are doing it. You are absolute heroes for those that are consistently putting out high quality videos. You're all absolute legends. Maybe someday I'll join your ranks, but until then, I'm just going to keep learning, doing my thing and having fun with the hobby. And if you're enjoying this sort of content, please do me a favor, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications for future videos. Thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.